Welcome back to On Texas Football Longhorn Livestream. I'm your host, Amanda Atwell. If you didn't meet me yesterday, hello, nice to meet you. I am a former sports director from cities all over Texas. I've covered sports everywhere in this great state, and I'm so happy to be covering them for my personal alma mater, the University of Texas, joined by the pros over here. We got CJ Vogel and Jeff Howe. How are y'all doing? How are you feeling? We got 3 days out. It is Queen Ewer's numbers days out. And it's also, fun fact, it is Amanda Atwell number days out because that was my college soccer number as well. So we love the number 3.
3 days. That special shout out to Billy Sure-Shot, Hodges Mitchell, Sean Mitchell, a couple of other number 3s. Nathan Vasher also was a number 3. Scott Soretti. I got to make sure I get all my Texas kickers in. And 3, the number of bowl games John Cooper won at Ohio State in his 13 years there as head coach.
Yikes.
Oh,
only 3?
Only 3. Welcome in, Buckeye fans.
We
for a fun hour.
We can we show some love for our Monty Foreman?
For Monty Foreman? Dude, I'm Team Foreman all day, so yes.
Okay. All right. He gets lost in this fold every now and then. But 3 days out, I'm excited. I'm feeling a little bit more chipper today. It was not yesterday, so maybe it's the Kool-Aid that I posted over on TexasFootball.com about Arch Manning. Maybe it's about some of the pancakes that this offensive line is preparing for, because there's a lot out of the factory that we need to talk about coming up later on this show. But altogether, vibes are high. Maybe it's because the sun's still up. I don't know, but feeling good.
Yeah, and the sun's still up and the weather is getting cooler. I saw for the home opener, it looks like it might be in the 80s, which would be absolutely phenomenal compared to what I was anticipating it to be that day. But yeah, it should be beautiful in Columbus, high of 75, hopefully high scoring day for the Longhorns as well. But anyways, you're talking about Arch Manning. That'll be our first. There's one person that is not quite as high on Arch Manning as you are. So guys, pop your questions in the chat. We'll try to get to them. Super chats, jump to the top of the line, of course, but we'll get to this Arch Manning hype. Jordan Rodgers, if you know this guy, he's the relative of that one other quarterback. He's just not really feeling Arch, and he's been yapping a lot all offseason about this, but I think he just wanted another headline this morning. So let's see what he had to say.
But I will say, and I'm going to say this, I don't know what you guys talked about when I went off air. The hype doesn't match the tape. There are good things, and there are some good things, but the hype or the tape to me doesn't tell you got a first-round draft pick or a top 10 or a number 1 overall draft pick or a Heisman hopeful. I think he's going to go into Ohio State. He's going to struggle because he hasn't played anybody. The last time we saw him against a really good defense was Georgia, and he looked out of place, right? He looked really good against UTSA, Louisiana Monroe, and Mississippi State, the worst defense in the SEC. I think there's still a lot for him to grow and a lot we need to see, like Lewis said.
Okay, Joe said he does not know this guy. In fact, I got to say the only reason I learned about who he was from his time on The Bachelorette. So
I was going to say, that's where he had his fame, correct?
Yeah, unfortunately not too much during football, but
interesting.
I'm waiting for CB to pop up in the chat because I know he loves the Rodgers family. So I'm waiting for CB to pop up. Like, I'll be honest, Amanda, like this is why I don't watch ESPN 99% of the time, because it's just hot take garbage. And dude, yeah, you probably didn't see much of anything on tape last year that would lead you to believe Arch is going to be a number 1 overall pick or a first-round pick or hit his ceiling. That's kind of the point of a player growing over time. And like the ESPN narrative on Arch, I'll borrow from one of your side projects, Amanda, they're going to move the goalpost to fit whatever kind of Arch narrative they want. Like it regardless of how he performs, the outcome Saturday, it's going to be one or the other. Either he's the most overrated, overhyped prospect ever, or, oh my gosh, teams need to start tanking to get ready to take him number 1 overall in 2026. So that's why I dig what we do here at OTF, because I feel like sensible Longhorn fans, sensible college football fans understand where Arch really is and the proper way to approach this. But yeah, I mean, look, the next smart thing that anybody in the Rodgers family says will be the first. So I'll just leave it at that.
How about a 4-month ayahuasca trip for the next, starting this Saturday? I think that'd be great. But no, I mean, I get it. I mean, for Jordan Rodgers, look, for a lot of these quarterbacks who come in with a lot of hype, you want to see it first. Now, I do disagree. I do think Arch put out some really good traits on tape a year ago. But to counter that, how many of those big-time plays or highlights were against teams with competent defenses? I'm sure that there were plenty of tapes that you could watch of Arch Manning throwing a big touchdown or running around the sideline, and it looks like I'm out there chasing him around. Like, that's just not what he's going to be facing this upcoming weekend. So I understand it, but to go out there and say that the traits and the skill doesn't align with that of a future first-round pick, I disagree. I mean, again, this is a guy that was the number one quarterback in all of the country coming out and being thrown into play right away a year ago. Let's not forget, this is a guy that, 14 touchdowns and just over 100, 200 snaps? I mean, the production's there. Again, not against great competition, but would you rather him not perform? Would you rather him not produce? You get what you get against those competitions, and by my estimations or whatever. But Arch played very well in the time that we saw him a year ago.
CJ, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll just go like recent college football history. But really, like other than Trevor Lawrence, every highly touted quarterback has struggled at some point. Even the guys that end up being really, really good. Like, Justin Fields, like the guys that leave college as first-round type quarterbacks, they all struggle at some point.
Yeah.
Texas quarterbacks, like if Vince Young and Colt McCoy can hit a part of their career arc where they struggled and you kind of questioned, okay, are they really the answer long-term? Man, if that can happen to those two guys, it can happen to anybody. So I think we just need to be cognizant of the slow burn with quarterbacks. Like, man, like think about Sam Ehlinger. Like go back to Sam's freshman year and even early in his sophomore year, there was no consensus on whether he was the guy or not, but the more he played, the better he got. He grew into the job. So I just think look, in today's society, it's a microwave society where we want instant gratification. There's not going to be any patience for Arch to develop. But if you let him develop, if you let him cook properly, by the time we get to the end of this thing, it should be where we all expect it to be. I just don't know that it's realistic to expect it to be there on Saturday.
And my last point on this is that instant gratification. Look at every other quarterback in that top 5, top 7, top 8 in Arch's recruiting class and compare them to where we're at now, right? Arch is the only one that remains at the school that recruited him and he signed with. And for some of those guys, they're on school number 3, Dante Moore, right? It might actually be school 4. I can't remember. But point being, quarterbacks get a different perspective from the outside world. And for Arch to be in the same system going on year 3 with the familiarity of the guys up front, around him, and in his ear in the headset, I think that's going to help him quite a bit in comparison to guys who otherwise haven't had the time on the field to meet that experience criteria. Now he's going to have to go out there and perform, but all in all, this is kind of what you hope Arch would be stepping into. Familiar settings and guys that have been with him since the minute he stepped foot on campus. Again, for most of those 5-star guys in that class, that's not the case, and we've seen those struggles as a result.
Yep.
What I think is also interesting is yesterday, I think I mentioned this, because I just saw this I was at the gym, so I couldn't listen to it, but the subtitle said, "Is Arch overconfident?" And a lot of these overhyped, overconfident things, they just don't seem to align, and it just looks like they're grasping straws, looking for something else to talk about him, just like that doesn't really make sense. So what do y'all think? How can a quarterback be overconfident going into a game like this?
Oh, now, is it possible to be overconfident in your first road start against the reigning national champions? I mean, let's put that into perspective here. And I would assume this comes as a result of, the comments he made about, hey, we want to move the target off of our back onto others. We want to make sure that everybody feels that we have the red dot on them, which, it's a fire quote. Put it on a shirt, Bobby. Let's make some money here. But my point is, again, if that's the mindset that you have going on the road, that's exactly what you'd hope to see out of a quarterback like Arch Manning, right? Baker Mayfield's not Baker Mayfield without the swagger and the confidence that he carries. Now, there's a difference between confidence and cockiness. I understand that, but you have to play confidently. You have to play with the swagger that isn't met at any other positions because you're the guy controlling the game. You make out all the decisions before the snap. You basically touch the football every single play. No one else on the field has that much dictation in what happens game in and game out. So for Arch, if there was a lack of confidence, I would be concerned. An over aggressive amount of confidence, sign me up for it, because I think that only results in positive.
As long as it's authentic, I don't care what your quarterback acts like. Like, the two, again, the three best leaders I've seen at the quarterback position that I can think of at Texas are Sam Ehlinger, Vince Young, and Colt McCoy. All three of those guys led in different ways. I mean, VY, it was the swagger. It was sticking your chest out. It was, yeah, we're going to come in here and we're going to win the game because like we'll tell you what plays we're running and you still won't be able to stop it. With Colt, it was like it was a level of professionalism and it was all about pinpoint accuracy and timing and rhythm, and that was just a precision with that offense. And then with Sam, it was like the physicality part. Like, yeah, I'm gonna sacrifice my body for the greater good of the team, and guys respected that. You know, Quinn's leadership was more. It was kind of more. I would describe it more akin to like how Colt McCoy led it. Not going to say a bunch. When he does talk, it's probably going to be a big deal, but just kind of stays even keel the whole way. Man, Arch is more like VY. Like, yeah, dude, puff your chest out. Have that big ego when you go into the stadium. Walk with that swagger. Have a little pep in your step. That's fine. As long as it's authentic and everybody around him buys into it, it doesn't. I don't really care what anybody else on the outside says. I agree. I want from my team I'm following, I want all those guys, all 10 guys on the field with the quarterback to feel like we can go win with this guy, however that guy needs to lead. So I feel like, and I think that's something, guys, that's going to evolve as we go out through the year. Like, this is who Arch is, but as he gets to play more, as he gains more confidence, gets more skins on the wall, that's only going to grow just like it did with VY.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I mean, it's just, would you rather him be overconfident or scared when he's walking into the shoe? I think I'd pick the latter. But before we get on to our next topic, we got to thank one of our sponsors, Von Lane. If you're looking to get to different games, like I need to get to Austin next weekend, you got to get to one city or another. And like always, it's a toss-up. Do you deal with the airport chaos and hope your flight isn't delayed, or do you just brace yourself for hours behind the wheel, battling traffic and burning a day? Now there's a third option, and it's better in every way. You arrive at a luxury hotel terminal, no TS lines, no long-term parking lots, just a seamless boarding experience that takes minutes, not hours. You settle into just one of 22 oversized first-class seats with a 104-degree recline, leg rests, and a cabin attendant serving complimentary snacks, beverages, and on select trips, full meals. Need to relax, lean back, and enjoy the ride? Want to stay productive? There's high-speed Wi-Fi and power at every seat. Fall travel is booking fast. Reserve now for October trips to Texas versus Oklahoma in Dallas, F1 and ACL in Austin, or college football weekends in Nashville, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston. Von Lane connects Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Nashville, Atlanta, Memphis, and now Knoxville, Tennessee, the Woodlands, Texas, Plano, Texas. Visit vonlane.com and use code OTF25 to save $20 on your first ride. Von Lane, elevated regional bus transportation. And that is something I might look into to get to San Jose State in 2 weeks. But moving on from there, we talked a little bit yesterday about mistakes and limiting mistakes, and that's who's going to win this game is limiting mistakes. And CJ, you tweeted something interesting about this earlier today about who Texas should specifically target. So if you could tell us a little bit more about that in his penalties he committed in 2025.
Yeah, Davison Igbinosun, he's a guy that I had circled in the Cotton Bowl for Texas to go after and target. He's circled once again in this upcoming matchup. I tweeted 16, but look, that didn't account for 2 more that he committed in the national championship against Notre Dame. So up to 18 penalties on the year. No other Power 4 cornerback had more than 8. So you see just how glaring of an issue this was at times for Ohio State, and specifically for Igbinosun. I know folks scoff at the PFF grades, but look, when penalties are involved and when you're not making plays on the ball, only 2 interceptions a year ago, I mean, it kind of puts into perspective how he kind of, shaked out against the other cornerbacks in all of college football. But I think this is a guy that Texas can target, and again, for Ryan Wingo, a more physical wide receiver who drew a penalty by Igbinosun in the red zone late in that fourth quarter, this is an area in which Texas can circle and say, okay, we need a big play, whether it's completed or not. We are at least rolling the dice with heavy, or I would say favorable outcomes that Igbinosun commits a penalty. So you don't see many weak spots on an Ohio State defense, but when you do, you have to take advantage. And I do think that Igbinosun again, despite being 6'2" and very lengthy, I think he's a guy that gets too handsy. He doesn't play the ball too often. And as a result, Texas can target and pick up a free 15 at least once throughout this weekend.
Something I want to see from the Texas wide receivers this year, guys, that we haven't seen it. So we saw it. Matthew Golden seemed to get better at it last year as the year went on. I want to see guys on deep shots, like, make the official throw the flag for pass interference. Like, go attack the ball. Like, if if a guy bumps you, hey, I don't mind if you act like you got mugged. Like, force the issue with defensive pass interference calls. Like, CJ, just especially like early in Sark's tenure, for as many deep shots as they were taking, they didn't get near enough defensive pass interference calls going their way. So that's something. I don't know if that's something Chris Jackson can coach. I don't know if that's something that guys need to develop on their own as they get more reps. But I do think with as many deep shots as you're going to throw, as many vertical shots as you're going to have with Arch at quarterback, I definitely want to see more DPIs drawn this year. Because, hey, whether it's a caught ball or a penalty, man, 15 yards is 15 yards. Moving the chains is moving the chains.
Well, Jeff, with this group, I mean, look, Texas has gotten bigger, right? They've gotten more physical. The frames are much different than what Sark had at Alabama, or even, just a few years ago when it felt like it was only Xavier Worthy running around. This physicality on the outside, if that's what we see more of, you can expect to see more contact down the field. And I know we're not in the Big 12 anymore, but depending on the referee and that officiating crew, that might just be exactly what you need in terms of drawing those DPIs and personal fouls down the field.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's probably something that's going to be more in play with this receiver group potentially, just because of the nature of the pass game. Like, again, just to reinforce kind of something I've been talking about pretty much since January, I think this passing game, the explosive plays are going to be more Arch throwing the ball to the spot and guys making contested catches or, throw it in a tight window, rather than what the offense has been with Quinn, where it's more about scheming guys open using the RPO and guys running after the catch. So that alone probably opens you up to drawing more defensive pass interference.
I agree.
Another part of our offense that there's a lot of questions about, and we've already gotten a couple questions about him in the chat. Gooseby update. If he doesn't go or has to go out, who will be going up next? And what is the situation there on his health?
Yeah, I mean, this is the big question that remains ahead of this trip out to Columbus. Right now, Trevor Gooseby was a full participant yesterday. He was practicing once again today. Look, effectiveness is going to be in question, obviously, if he comes out with the club or some sort of, big wrap on his hand. Hands are pretty important for offensive linemen. But we do know that he's been back on the field the last 2 days, and that is very much a positive considering where things were a little while ago. Should he come out, you're going to see Texas reshuffle things quite a bit. You might see a Neto Umeozulu move out to left tackle. If that happens, well, it's been Connor Stroh who's been working a lot at left guard. And we do need to talk about that left guard spot, Amanda and Jeff, because, look, even with Trevor Gooseby in the lineup, we've heard a lot of Connor Stroh implemented into that Texas starting five at left guard in favor of Neto Umeozulu. So Texas is still trying to tweak and find the most optimal starting five right now before they get on the plane and go on up to Columbus. But right now, positives trending in the direction of Trevor Gooseby being on the field and Texas having a sixth or seventh guy at the helm ready to go should they need them due to injury this upcoming Saturday.
Yeah, and Stroh's another guy we've gotten some questions on already. If he's playing snaps this weekend at guard, good news, or something to worry about regarding quality depth on the O-line?
It's an unknown because he just hasn't played. Like, we don't know. Like, that's, again, I think I mentioned this last night, but it's worth repeating. Like, that's the difference with this offensive line and last year's offensive line. Like, last year, your top backups were Cole Hudson, who you knew had played a ton, Neto, who you had confidence in, Gooseby, who ended up starting some games, and Brandon Baker. Now that those guys have been elevated, who's that next wave of guys? Like, this is really where, like, I think, CJ, I don't want to say ideal scenario because any O-line configuration that doesn't have Gooseby on the field is not ideal.
Correct.
But if they could, this would have been a great week to be like, you know what, Andre Kojo, you're going to be the starting left tackle this week. Brandon Baker, you're at right tackle. Gooseby, sit back and get ready and, make sure you're good to go by the start of SEC play or whatever. Or maybe he's good to go, but Kojo would have been one of those next guys up. Like now it's Connor Robertson's turn. Like this is where all those guys that Kyle Flood's been letting bake in the oven and been developing, which has been great. Like they've had really low attrition, but Stroh and Jaden Chapman and guys like that have been kind of waiting back. This is where it's time for those guys to step up. And now that you've got an opportunity to really claim a spot in the 2 deep, Connor Robertson the same way, claim a spot in the 2 deep and be that next guy. I think they've earned the right to have that opportunity and see if they can take advantage of it. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. And again, if Trevor Gooseby was unable to go, look, my confidence in the Texas offense, don't get me wrong, Arch would still make plays, but it would greatly diminish. You need to have that bona fide left tackle. Imagine where Texas would be the last 3 years without Kelvin Banks. Texas needs to have that sturdiness at the left tackle position, the blind side of Arch Manning. So to hear that he's on track to play, or at least has been fully participating in practice last 2 days, very much a positive for the Longhorns. Again, that effectiveness will be in question early on, and I wouldn't be surprised if you're Ohio State to come out there and test him. Bring some stunts, some twists, and some extra pressure his direction.
I think we could see this could be a game where your usage of 11 personnel this week might be the lowest it is all year. I think, I don't want to say every snap, but the vast majority of your snaps, I think you either need to have that extra tight end or that extra back on the field. And again, I mean, that's not, look, more snaps for Trey Wisner or CJ Baxter, that's not the worst thing in the world.
I'm just going to knock out some of these super chats while we're on the topic. But what is Gooseby allowed to wear on his hand? Are there restrictions on size and material of his cast? I know in the 60s, 70s, NFL linemen would fake hand injuries in order to wear helmet-slapping weapons. Thanks so much for that question, MJ.
They don't give him a boxing glove, like just one of those oversized boxing gloves, or like one of those one of those Mickey Mouse mitts you buy at like Disneyland or Disney World. They're going to let him wear one of those.
I was imagining him coming out with one of those Hulk hands, the big green Hulk hands, and then he's just playing left tackle with one of those. I mean, that would be amazing.
I've seen those gimmicks at like Astros or Rangers games where it's like you put it on, but then it's got like the hole where you can put your beer in the fist part and drink that. So I don't know if they'll allow that, but no, I think it'll be I don't think like, you're going to go like plaster cast or anything, but they're I'm astonished every year at how far equipment technology comes every year. So I don't know what they're going to let him wear.
Yeah, and before we move on to the next topic, Jeff, I'm going to have you hear from our sponsors at South Point.
Yes, South Point Dodge. Hey, Texas football fans, score an easy extra point this season when you get to the point at South Point Dodge. South Point Dodge has over 600 vehicles in stock, including the all-new 2025 Ram 1500. Get the real deal today and drive away to an all-new Ram proven to last. Plus, you get the employee incentive pricing. That's right. You pay whatever their employees pay. Now, that is a real deal. So score big today at South Point Dodge. Come see us off I-35 in South Austin or at southpointdodge.com. Get to the point at South Point Dodge.
Okay, guys, I didn't put this part of this show in our rundown. This is a surprise for you. I don't know if you remember bringing up yesterday, CJ, that you were surprised I didn't bring any bookmarks for you guys.
Oh, no.
Unfortunately, I couldn't find any for Jeff. But CJ,
CJ,
you are just a wealth of some bookmarks. So I'll start with this first one. This is from June 10th of 2024. I could easily see A&M winning 9-10 this season. No Alabama, no Georgia, no Oklahoma, no Ole Miss on the schedule. Every game of meaning will be at home. If that OL can keep Wegman healthy, and that's the biggest key, then it could be a statement year one for Elko.
Hey, it could have been. But they Aggied it up. What do you want me to say?
I think that is just like the Aggies in everything that is an Aggie is in that woulda, coulda, shoulda been statement.
Yes, 100%. And perhaps the worst part of all of that is just having it centered around Connor Wegman.
Exactly. Which he's where now?
Exactly.
He's one of the members of A&M's QBU that is playing at a different university across the country.
Which is crazy, by the way.
Yeah, it was like 6 of them.
6, and the original tweet that I saw didn't even include an All-American tight end. Who go back to the evaluation board, Jeff? If your quarterback is spinning around to play tight end 3 years later, who?
I mean, Eli Stowers might be a top 100 pick. It just may be at a completely different position. So I mean, it's not a terrible eval, but hey, it's like I always say, CJ. The Texas tight ends, Texas on the 2014 Texas team had 3 NFL tight ends on it. One of them was playing quarterback, but still, 3 NFL tight ends came off that team.
Was that Beck, Swoops, and
Swaim?
Yeah.
Underrated NFL career, Jeff Swaim. Sneaky long career for Jeff.
Yeah, tight ends will do that. They'll hang around.
Andrew Beck's still cashing checks too. But CJ, at some point you got to learn, like, man, don't that I don't know,
not your
man.
worst one. And also, you just can't bet on the Aggies. I'm sorry.
That's like getting candy laced with cyanide on Halloween. Like, it looks good. Like, yeah, I think I'll do it, but man, it ain't worth it. It ain't worth the grab. Like, it ain't. Texas A&M, said it before, I'll say it again. In my lifetime, for the purposes of this exercise, I was born in 1983. The most underachieving college football program in the country in my life.
They'll come yell at you about the 90s, though, so be careful about that one. I've had them yell at me about the 90s, and I'm like, I was born in 1993. So
congratulations, they won when the Southwest Conference had like 8 teams. Half of them were on probation, and anytime they'd go to a bowl game and play Florida State or Notre Dame, they get their head kicked in. So yeah, congratulations, Aggies.
Mm-hmm.
All right, got to move along to the other rival in this other tweet. This is from. This one is from this year. Never mind. You're safe there. I thought this was from last year, but that is saved for later, just to see if you know what's coming.
I'll stand by that one, and I'll stand by this last one too, Amanda.
I don't know. I'm not going to stand by that one. You're going to stand by the last one. I didn't find the last one. Matt found the last one.
Oh God, of course. I've been old takes exposed, I think 3 times is what the counter's up to now. That one yet to be exposed. But I stand by it because look, you draft. Okay.
Why?
That one hurts.
Eagles fan Matt in the background having a parade. But look, I've stood by it. I'll still stand by it. They were that close to having a championship in Green Bay. You draft a quarterback and then you have an MVP with Aaron Rodgers. It was a bad pick. But I do know now what I'm working with, Amanda, when it comes to how careful I need to be when I throw a tweet out there with a prediction. I'm still going to let them fly, however. I know that it's going to come back to bite me eventually.
I don't think you have to be quite as worried as our friend Billy Lucci, because yours are at least predictions made on good faith, not predictions made out of emotional frustration and battered Aggie syndrome. So
no, hey, if it wasn't for a great play made by Sir Parker in the Big 12 championship game, A&M's conference championship drought would be longer than the Cowboys Super Bowl drought.
Wow.
And the Aggies only had the Cowboys by 2 years. And that pains me to say as a Cowboys fan. I was in the 6th grade the last time the Cowboys won a Super Bowl, which was also the last time they made an NFC championship game. But thank goodness Texas has won conference championships and competed much more recently than 1996.
Yeah, I got to say those are pretty light for as far as most of my bookmarks go. Most of them are pretty rough. So you got it off easy. Just be careful. Yes. Fortunately, I don't think I'm less likely to expose your bookmarks because it probably means something bad for us in general. So
yeah, I like the good old lose for everybody. Yeah. If I'm going down, I'm sinking the ship with us, guys.
Yeah. I'm more of a does not happen.
I'm more of a retweeter, so I'm sure I've got some in there. But
that's what I found with you. You weren't doing many hot take predictions, and it's just not
one of my worst ones was Avery Johnson. I was going to bet on him to win the Heisman last year.
I did find that one, but I gave you a break there.
Yeah, that wasn't great.
I feel like that one was just brought to the surface by somebody else after the Kansas State Iowa State game.
Texas football, Amanda, from 2010 to 2021, pretty much beat a lot of the optimism out of me. So
me too.
That's why I avoid hot takes on the Twitter machine.
I grew up thinking Texas didn't know how to lose games, but Then I went to college and that's all they did. Lucci's Here Come the Champion. Yeah, that one, I think we used that one in the first show that we had. There was another one that was, he called Sark 7 Wins Sark. There was another one that was SS Sark heading straight into the iceberg. That he has all of these fun. You just look up Billy Lucci and Sark, and it's just tweet after tweet.
Banger after banger.
Banger after banger. All right, we'll move on to some of these chats. If you have a question, send it in. Super chats go to the top of the line. We'll start it off with, what do you think Sark's first offensive series formation will be? 4 wide, pony package, 2 tight ends. I'm going spread with 4 wide receivers. What do y'all think?
First off, Freelance Society, good to see you at the Texas, the Austin meet and greet as well. Great question, because I do think Texas comes out more likely in 12 personnel than with 4 wide receivers on the field. The big point in that is, look, we still don't quite know what the deal is with Emmett Mosley. He hasn't practiced a whole lot this fall. Sark again today in the SEC teleconference said that he's going to be limited, and how limited is limited, we don't know. You know, I almost want to just call him like an area 51 creature, because we don't know anything about him. You know, we know that he exists, but we don't know anything in regards to what he can do on the field, or, you know, what his status is in the pecking order of that circle of trust. We don't know. So yeah, he might just be that area 51 creature for now moving forward, Jeff. But ultimately, I think Texas, to your point, what you made earlier, multiple tight ends and that versatility in that room will allow for an offensive line that hasn't gelled yet a little bit more rope to gel longer into a game because of the help on each end. On top of that, whether it's the Jack injuries, whether it's a Spencer Shannon or Jordan Washington, you have 3 capable bodies that can walk out there and give you quality snaps as well.
I think Sark is taking a shot in this game early. Like, you know, there's gonna be a process, and look, maybe Sark's already there. I don't know, but I feel like there's gonna be a process to figure out, okay, when Arch gets into a game, like what throws, what play calls, like get him into a rhythm. And for every quarterback, it's different. Maybe you just take a shot early. You know, CJ, maybe you target Igminoso and you try to get a DPI or a big play down the field or something. So maybe you do that. Formationally, I think he's going to mix it up. In terms of personnel, I'm kind of with CJ. I tend to think 12 personnel. And Tony Hills, our Hump Day with Hills this morning on Coffee and Football, made a great point. And I feel like Sark is more of this guy now than maybe he was a couple of years ago. I think Sark wants to come in this game and establish the run, just try to play with the physical mindset. Is he patient enough to take early in the game kind of those 2 and 3 yard gains, knowing that if you just keep chipping away, by the time you get into the 3rd and 4th quarter, those 2 and 3 yard gains are going to become 6 and 7 yard gains, and the 6 and 7 yarders are going to become explosive runs. So I feel like we'll see probably 12 personnel and some 21 personnel, because I really think Sark wants to establish the run and play with the physical edge. And I think that goes back to the O-line situation too. Like it takes a long time for an O-line to be a really good zone blocking line. I think maybe the one thing you can count on this O-line doing is, hey, they can just maybe fire off the ball and just try to blow people off the line of scrimmage and, you know, get downhill and run the football. Like that's pretty easy for young offensive linemen to do. So I feel like it's conducive to running the ball downhill. The conditions on Saturday will be.
And speaking of that, we got a question from Justin Yarborough. How much will the short passing game matter Saturday? Arch seemed comfortable with it. I also think it will help to get the run game and deep passing game going. Thoughts?
Jeff, maybe you could talk a little bit about how important it is to get in a rhythm as a quarterback and how those easy throws might lend to shorter games, right? You know, the little missile screens, or, you know, the Sark screen that we see so often. We've talked about the PA waggles, you know, the bootlegs out to a DeAndre Moore on the backside or somebody in the flats as a tight end. That's going to be a big part of it. But I've kind of talked myself back into believing that Sark is just going to let it fly. You know, you've got the guys, DeAndre Moore, Ryan Wingo. They've made big plays with Arch vertically down the field. That is one of the biggest strengths of a Parker Livingstone as well. If you start piecing these things together, if you're back in, if you're Caleb Downs, where do I favor? Is it Ryan Wingo? Is it a Livingstone? Is it DeAndre Moore? Space the field, then all of a sudden you have a Jack injuries over the middle of the field as well. It's a lot to choose from, so we'll see. But ultimately, I do think that you'll see more and more down the field early in this game.
I feel like you mentioned him. I think a lot of your short game is going to be Jack injuries involved because, like, on the perimeter, like we know the running backs, like Trey Wisner had 50 targets last year. What did he catch? Like 30 balls last year, almost 40 balls last year. Wisner can catch the football. CJ Baxter can catch the football. It's like we know the backs, and Sark's going to get the backs involved. I don't know. Like you don't have that guy at wide receiver right now. Wingo is, but Wingo's kind of a jack of all trades. I don't want to pigeonhole into being this guy, but not like, you know, Isaiah Bond or Worthy, where it's like, okay, this guy's our screen guy. Like we can get this guy, you know, on a little, you know, just a little tunnel screen, bubble screen, and just let him go. I don't know that you have that guy right now. And also, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be as much. I don't know if the RPO based throws or your glances and your slants, I don't know if that's going to get Arch in a rhythm or be as important for Arch as much as it was Quinn. I think if they're going to the short game, I think it's going to be more about getting Jack injuries involved, because I think CJ, there was something like 96% of his targets last year at Cal were from behind the line of scrimmage up to like 9 yards. Like very, very, very short game intense. And so I feel like if they're going short game, it's not going to be the guys on the perimeter. It's going to be injuries.
Yeah, I think y'all are reading our questions because Jason just asked that. Injuries a difference maker on offense this game. What say you?
It would be huge. Again, for a young quarterback, normally your tight end is your best friend, which on the flip side, Texas needs to be very aware of Max Clare and how quickly Julian Sand looks to get him involved in that game as well. So I do think injuries is going to have a big role. Will he be a Gunnar Helm, Michigan breakout game? I don't think so, just in the sense that, look, they've only been working together for about 4 months now. But, yeah, definitely a big piece of this passing game, especially with how thin Texas could be. I don't want to worry, folks, but look, you've only got 3 plus a lot of freshmen at wide receiver right now. The year back to early spring kind of, okay, where else can Texas bolster its roster? It's wide receiver kind of a position right now.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, CJ, like I'm not saying the Texas wide receiver room lacks talent, right? I think, and Todd Lacey had a comment up here, and thank you, Todd, for pointing out. So, Jeff, we have the wide receivers. Football World is about to find out. Yeah, I know Texas is talented at wide receiver. I was talking about like a guy who's a legit screen game guy. If they have that guy, we just haven't seen it yet. We just don't know that that's primarily what their skill set is. And to CJ's point, like I would love to be sitting here Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, and talking about, man, what a difference Khalil Lockett made, or man, those few snaps Dalen McCutcheon played, those few targets really ended up helping make the difference. We just don't know yet. They're not proven commodities, so you can't bank on that right now.
Yeah, people are really into this offense right now. Mike's Hard Takes, how many running backs play in this game? What are we thinking there?
Ooh, I bet they keep it at 3.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 if you include a Jarrett Gibson, but I think you're going to see a lot of Trey Wisner. I think you're going to see a lot of CJ Baxter. And by a lot, I mean anywhere from 10 to 15 carries a pop. Anything beyond that, I think, would be quite a stretch early on, especially with the balance that both possess. And then I think you're going to see Christian Clark. My question and where I kind of lean towards a 4th is, do they give Jarrett Gibson one of those, kind of a fullback look on a short distance that we saw at times, kind of an offset I formation in the place of what you normally see a fullback. But I do think you're going to see those 3 first and then a Gibson, and that would be your 4th.
Yeah, that would be a really good spot. I mean, I hope if Jarrett Gibson gets in this game and gets touches, like you see him run like his hair's on fire. Like that would be a really good opportunity to prove himself. I do think 3. I'm trying to find a question, and somebody in the chat, Stephen Houston said Ryan Niblett would be your screen game guy if they use him correctly. Ryan Niblett's not going to have like a featured role in this offense or like a big time role. I've got a feeling though, if he's in the game, then I think your trick play, like something's going to happen like off kilter if Ryan Niblett's in the game. I just feel like that's your double reverse pass, that's your throwback pass, your heavy play action, and then send it back on the wheel or the rail, whatever it is. I feel like he's that guy right now. May only be like a handful of snaps, but I feel like when he's in the game, Sark will have a big play dialed up.
Before we head to our next sponsor, this is probably my favorite question we've gotten. Buddy Pal Chief Big Guy. If Texas wins, does the Ohio State legislature make it a felony to beat OSU in the horseshoe? I think they honestly might at this point. There's nothing that's charm and soft that they haven't done so far that I think they wouldn't do. So would not put it past them.
If they did, I may not have to take back what I said on Coffee and Football this morning, which I'm not talking about tradition, but the way that fan base acts, I'm really close to giving Ohio State the label of Rust Belt Aggie.
I was about to say they're getting closer and closer. I don't think they'd actually do that, but I think they'd probably be tempted to. It would be a little upsetting for them to lose their opener against the team they beat in the national championship last year.
Yes.
Here's one thing
does Texas plant the flag? Is another question.
Yeah, you read my mind, Amanda. That's where I was going. Like, I don't know. Maybe this is just me like being too much of a realist at times, and just thinking of things like too practical. Planting a flag on an AstroTurf field or a field turf field, just I don't know. It doesn't quite have the like. I love when it happens at Texas OU, and like everybody gets up in arms. It's usually Ohio State that throws the biggest fit when this happens, which is kind of funny. But like. I love it at Texas OU, even when Oklahoma wins the game and the Cotton Bowl's a grass field. You know what? You win the game. Yep. You can go plant that flag all you want. Like you won the game. You don't want them to plant the flag. Don't lose the game. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe the Silver Spurs or somebody can sneak in like a little grass patch just in case that you can direct somebody to go plant the flag over there.
They did plant the flag at OU in the Cotton Bowl. And we all know that Texas players maybe wanted to try to do it again after that win in Kyle Field late November. And Texas staffers, whether it was Sarkisian, whether it was the rest of that staff, they say, hey, to the locker room. We'll celebrate in there. So maybe we don't see that flag plant, but I do think all Texas fans would enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't think Sark's going to let that happen personally. But moving on, if you don't have your seats yet, you probably want to get them. So, Jeff, I'll let you tell them how they can get seats to the games this season.
Yep, get in touch with SeatGeek. Any Texas fans going to see the Longhorns take on the Buckeyes this weekend and still need tickets, which is why you need to give SeatGeek a try if you're still looking. With more than 35 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. College football is back. The NFL is right around the corner. SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. So look out for the green dots. Green is good. Red is bad. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. I've used SeatGeek before. Of course, we've got a deal for OTF fans. Use the code ONTexas10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with the promo code ONTexas10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you, SeatGeek, for sponsoring this On Texas Football live stream.
Thank you, SeatGeek. All right. I guess I'm the person that gets all the Aggie questions now because I have a podcast with an Aggie. But Daniel wants to know, the odds are 7.5 for Aggie. Are you over or under?
That's an initiation thing, Amanda, so it's all good. They'll die down here in a week.
It's like a Malort shot when you go to Chicago.
I know. Yeah, I've never had one of those, and I don't think I plan on that any times. I was in 3rd grade when I went to Chicago, so I don't think they were going to offer me one of those. But for A&M, I got to say, I'm going to say over just because 8 is over, and that seems to be their lucky number. But at the same time, if the Aggies are as good as what it seems like people are saying the Aggies are with their returners on the O-line, with Marcel Reed apparently as good as he can be with those returners on the O-line, I would say 9 wins is my sweet spot, but I do think they miss a college football playoff. This is where me and Billy differed on our podcast. His take didn't really make sense to me, 9-3, but he thinks they make the college football playoff just because of strength of schedule. But looking at it, there's easily 3 losses on this schedule for A&M. And there are some very risky trip-ups on this schedule for A&M. You're going to Notre Dame, you're going to Death Valley, and you're going to Texas. And then you also have an Achilles heel in South Carolina. You have a little bit of a sketchy Florida team. I think it could easily end up being 8-4 again. I don't want to say 7-5, but their schedule it's not the hardest. It's not an OU schedule, but there's definitely some trip ups in here.
I can see it right now. A&M is 6-2. They're coming off of a loss to LSU. They're in the top 15. It's like, hey, if they win out, they can go to the SEC championship game, get a win at Texas, like they can go to Atlanta. And at Missouri is a game where they would just completely mess the bed. Like that is Texas A&M in a nutshell.
That I was actually thinking about that. How tough will Missouri be this year with Bo Prabula? I know that they talked about, maybe having a 2-quarterback system. That was a game that I was thinking about. If you go full Aggie, that's the one that out of nowhere you lose. It was like Auburn a year ago. But I mean, look, the same thing I tweeted last year that you had the receipts for it, man. I mean, it's the same thing I'm saying today. No Georgia, no Alabama, right? If you're looking at it from an SEC's perspective, it's favorable-ish. Now your road games are tough, right? Arkansas will get up after that game has been at Jerry World for years. They'll get up for that game. Going to LSU, I'm sure that game will be at night, considering that LSU has a lot of expectations with Garrett Nussmeier, as does Texas A&M with Marcel Reed. And then y'all mentioned it just now. You have to get by South Carolina, something that Texas A&M, quite frankly, has not been able to do, and something that, look, Lenore Sellers, we talk about putting on the cape. That's exactly what he did a year ago in College Station. So I think 8 wins is definitely attainable. I do, because I don't think that early in the year you're hit with a lot of adversity. You're able to play Notre Dame. If you win that game, you're on top of the world. If you lose, well, now you get several weeks to figure it out before having to play at home against DJ Lagway. And we'll see, of course, how healthy he is as well. But I think 8 wins is on the table for him. I think it's very possible.
Amanda, what are Billy's 3 losses? Is it Notre Dame, LSU, and Texas?
Yes, I believe he said he thinks they could potentially win one of those, and then one of these other weird ones could trip him up. I think if those are their 3 losses, there's a better chance at his prediction of them making the college football playoff. If you did not watch Moving Goalposts, it came out. What is today? Yesterday. It came out yesterday, but I audibly laughed when he predicted them making the college football playoff. So
yeah.
He got very insulted when I audibly laughed at that as well. And I'm like, I am not the only one who would laugh at that response to this question.
I just think, I think when you look at the SEC teams getting in, though, like I'll indulge Billy's take for just a second. Like if it comes down to 9-3 A&M, or let's say a 10-3 LSU that loses the SEC championship, well, LSU would have head-to-head over Texas A&M. So I don't know how that's going to happen. So yeah, I mean, I think they'd have to at least make the SEC championship game to get into the playoff, because in theory they could lose to Notre Dame, lose 2 conference games, and still get to Atlanta, depending on how things shake out. I think they would have to be a 9-3 team with no more than 2 conference losses. That puts you in Atlanta, and then at that point though, they'd probably have to win, because I don't think a 9-4 team is getting into the playoff.
What's A&M ranked in the preseason?
Think like, are they 19? Something along those lines. I think they're in the lower teens potentially.
So
or is that OU?
Pretty chalky prediction there. You lose to everybody ranked above you except for Florida, whose quarterback might not play a whole lot this year. Really going out on a limb here, but yeah,
I remembered that.
I just want to. Here's one of my things with the SEC schedule too. Like I don't think Arkansas is going to be a factor in this thing. But who's going to get Arkansas on the week when they fire Sam Pittman and Bobby Petrino becomes the interim head coach? And it's just like and Arkansas is just like wheels off, playing with their hair on fire, completely inspired. Like
fans in the crowd are drinking beer, wearing
man, like
braces.
Like, I mean, Fayetteville's a weird place
at that point.
Fayetteville is a wild ass atmosphere. Unfortunately, I have a hog-shaped vodka bottle that sits on my card over here from my great uncle, who always wants to remind me where some of my roots lie. But that place is insane. I feel like that is a place also. I mean, it's Arkansas, but I wouldn't put it past A&M to trip up there. So I don't know. I'm leaning 9-3, but I'm leaning closer to 8-4 after looking at all things considered. So I guess that's still over 7.5. So
real quick,
go ahead,
Sailor Joe, how's Nyblack doing in College Station? Look, I mean, I think Texas fans all know how the Amari Nyblack experience went a year ago. Mm-hmm. Not very physical blocker. Committed far too many penalties for the snaps that he was seeing. There's optimism in College Station that he can be a player. this year for Texas A&M. If that's the case, that's great. And if that's the case, I think Texas is sitting back waiting November 28th saying, all right, we know what we're dealing with here.
I feel like between Jaleel Billingsley and Amari Nyblack, Jeff Banks and Sark are probably like, you know what? No more Alabama transfer tight ends. Like we're done cornering the market on Bama transfer tight ends. But Amanda, you were talking about Vietnam. I'll tell you how unhinged it is in Vietnam. Like I got my taste of it in 2021, and I'm content to not go back. Like I'm good. Craig Way, the great Craig Way, my former broadcast colleague at the Horn in Austin, rest in peace. The 2004,
the Horn, not the Craig Way.
To the Horn, yes, not to Craig. The 2004 football game in Fayetteville, Texas goes up there to play Fayetteville or to play Arkansas in Fayetteville. Craig is walking into the stadium, and an Arkansas fan throws a pimento cheese sandwich at him. When you're throwing pimento cheese sandwiches at the play-by-play guy, yeah, your fan
and
base.
That Craig Way of all guys
is a little bit on it. I think. If I remember right, and if Craig is listening, he can correct me, but I think he was wearing like a burnt orange tie. And so I think it was like the dead giveaway. So I don't think he rolls like that anymore. But yeah, throwing a pimento cheese sandwich at the play-by-play guy. No, Craig is fine, everybody. I freaked the chat out. My bad. Craig is fine.
Freaked me out.
Yeah, that's why I tried to clarify that for you. I mean,
yes, man, I ain't breaking that news. That's not my department.
Craig is doing well. No, me and Craig the same. I've been hit in the head with multiple tortillas when I covered Texas Tech, as well as called ugly by one of their frat boys leaving the game with all of my media gear. So Texas Tech and Lubbock and Fayetteville, not places.
The last time Texas played in Lubbock, I was on the sideline when Bijan had that overtime fumble, and then Tex like lining up for the field goal. I got hit with a water bottle that came from the student section, and I was just like, you know what? I don't want to be present for whatever's going to happen here in the next probably 90 seconds. I just headed straight for the tunnel. Didn't look at anybody. I just went straight to the tunnel. So I wanted no part of that field storming.
Jenny, please.
Sorry, this chat is cracking me up.
Oh man.
Yeah, you're being blamed for announcing that Craig Way kicked the bucket.
So. I would rather be muted than be the entire show than be accused of that.
Take a screenshot of that. All right, we can move on.
Greg will find it funny. Trust me, he will.
You're gonna get a call from Craig after this. Are you prematurely announcing my death?
I'm not. Don't put that on me. Don't put that evil on me.
Craig is fine. Everybody, Craig is fine.
Oh, it's good stuff, man.
Okay.
I'll get back to trolling Ohio State fans. I'm sorry.
Okay. Moving on to Billy's question. Should we run blitz on first and second downs on OSU? First possession to rattle saying your thoughts. Hook 'em horns.
Look, I think you have to bring pressure, right? You got to make him feel uncomfortable very early on in this game. It's his first ever start. You're playing the number one team in the country. There's going to be a lot of pressure coming into this game. It can be amplified significantly if Texas gets home to the quarterback very early. I'm talking like a Colin Simmons or a Brad Spence or an Ethan Burke sack within the first 5 plays. That is something that sits with a quarterback. And we had a comment the other day. What rattles a quarterback more? Is it throwing early interceptions? Is it getting hit early? Look, some quarterbacks like being hit. Some quarterbacks don't like throwing interceptions. I would say all of them don't. So pressure can cause overthrows and tips. We know what that results in. My big thing is you also have an offensive line that isn't yet comfortable in playing with confidence. If that's the case in which you can start to get them to question just how, up to speed they are for the Texas pass rush, and I'm saying you blitz, you bring pressure. And it doesn't have to be 6 or 7 guys that you're bringing the house with because, again, you're going against probably the best wide receiver room in all of the country. You don't want to test that one-on-one theory all too often. But you have to be creative with where you bring your simulated stunts and pressures from the second level. And if that's the case, look, I think you do it often in this game.
I want to, at the end of this game, I want to look at, yards per play on first down for both teams. Because if you're Texas, the way you want to approach third down, and Texas has been one of the best offenses in the country the last 2 years at their percentage of first downs made on first or second down. So the best third down offense as far as Sark concerned is, hey, we just won't get the third down. Like, don't even worry about it. Just try to get it done on first and second down. And for the Texas defense, like, no, you want to get Ohio State to third down because the third and the longer to go distance, now you're talking about the NASCAR package or whatever kind of sub package they're going to have this year. And then that's when the thing with this team, and I don't think PK's never been a big blitz guy. And I don't see him just flipping that switch all of a sudden. They've got so many guys in that defensive front, with the exception of the tackles. Like, we don't know on the interior how it's going to work, but with the edge position and linebacker, so many guys that can create pressure on the quarterback organically. I don't think you need to blitz. I think it's just all about, like CJ said, it's all about simulated pressures and just have him start seeing ghosts. And that's when the organic pass rush can take over.
I like it.
All right. We got one more ad read to get to, and then we'll get to some more of your super chats. We're going to hear from our friends over at Advanced Pain Care.
Pros know the pain stops here.
Physical therapy helps me as an athlete then and now. And do I still need therapy? Yes. And Advanced Pain Care helps with that.
Injuries will stack up. They'll add up. You can't let those injuries get you down, and Advanced Pain Care has been very helpful for me.
We can help with whatever's got you down, from nerve damage to our spinal cord stimulator. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Same-day appointments available.
Advanced Pain Care. The pain stops here.
All right. Thanks so much, Advanced Pain Care. A couple more questions about this Ohio State team. Does a similar James Franklin stigma take place if Sark loses to Ohio State again?
No,
That is a loaded
won big games.
Go ahead, Jeff. Take it.
And I say this as the official James Franklin apologist of the On Texas football staff. Sark has actually won some big games. So, no, like, if there was now, I don't think it's so much this game, but like another couple losses to Georgia, then maybe, you're talking about something. But no, James Franklin's ineptitude is a strong, long body of work that he's put together to earn that label.
Yeah. We kind of coined the phrase yesterday. Ryan Day was one a day. Was it just for men's James Franklin until he got over the hump a year ago? He was a guy that couldn't win the big game. And until you do win the big game, you're always going to be the coach that doesn't. Sark, to his credit, has a win at Ann Arbor against Michigan and in Tuscaloosa against Alabama. So that categorizes as big wins. You can also point to 2 playoff wins a year ago against Arizona State and Clemson. But there's still something that's missing. And that's a win against Georgia. It's a win against Kalen DeBoer. It's a win against Ohio State. He would be 0 for 6 combined against those 3. And I include DeBoer because I do think he is a great coach. I do think he's going to be able to turn Alabama back into a perennial playoff contender. And if that's the case, you're likely going to see him again if you're Steve Sarkisian and the Texas Longhorns. So at some point, you're going to have to get over that hump. And again, we've talked about it. Ryan Day couldn't do it for years. It was Michigan that was always that thorn in the side for James Franklin. We don't even need to talk about it. But look, Dan Lanning's got his demons on his shoulder saying, hey, I don't know how to get over the hump. We've had good teams. If you're Steve Sarkisian, I think this is a very important win. And I talked about it earlier this offseason. The number 1 game Texas has to win this year, in my opinion, is that Georgia game. You have to look Kirby in the face and say, it doesn't matter anymore. We're on even playing surface. I've got my win on you. You've got your wins on me. Now it's about duking it out once again further in higher stakes games again. So I think you have to put that aside before it gets significantly louder from national media, and then which eventually turns into that James Franklin conversation.
MJF made a really good point. And by the way, Sark is in the boat that Ryan, like you said, CJ, Ryan Day was in up until last year. Until you win a national championship, you're going to hear it all. I remember in college basketball, now you look at Roy Williams with multiple national championships, Roy Williams, one of the greatest coaches of his time, right? No, when Roy was at Kansas, the same stuff was said, can't win the big one, can't win the big one. No, Roy Williams was a Hall of Fame coach before he won a national championship. He just had to cross the threshold. And I think now, I'm talking about winning a national championship is different than winning the game, but I think now you kind of got to judge coaches on a different curve because of the playoff, because you've got to beat more quality opponents along the way to win one. But MJF mentioned it, and I think this is going to maybe be the thing that takes precedence. So if we lose, Any story about Sark will be drowned out by the Arch's overrated crowd. I think, fair or not, if Texas loses, and I'm not picking Texas to lose this game for what it's worth, I think that's going to be more of the national story than anything
Yeah,
else.
you're right. Until that Florida game comes around, and then in which we'll have to wait and see what Texas's record will look like against ranked teams, quarterbacks, etc. But I'm with you. The end-all, be-all takeaway from this weekend, regardless of what it is going to be Arch Manning. And if you're Steve Sarkisian, maybe you can hide behind that for a couple of weeks or whatever. But eventually, you're going to have to be met with those three opponents that I just mentioned: DeBoer, Georgia, Ohio State. You're going to have to win those games. Fortunately, Texas has a pretty good quarterback that they can lean on for those 3 games.
Moving on, Jerry Jacklinks. Are we prepared to see Keinholz? I think we see him on Saturday as a part of their game plan.
I don't think so.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think, again, it was probably a very poorly kept secret that Ohio State was going to roll with Julian Sain. I know that they had the competition. They wanted those two to battle it out for quite a while, but I think it was never really in question all that much who was going to be the starting quarterback. And that comes from folks that I've talked to in Columbus behind the scenes as well. So, look, it was always leaning towards Julian Sain, and if that's the case, I think Ryan Day makes that decision and rolls with his guy through the good and the bad early on in his career. What good does it do if the first time that you start a game you get yanked? I don't think it does anything for you if you're looking to return or repeat as national champions.
Yeah, not as egregious as Lincoln Riley once upon a time trying to convince us that Kyler Murray was locked in a heated battle with Tanner Mordecai. Like, not like to that extent, but like still, I think we all knew Sam was going to be the guy. No, and by the way, Jerry's Jack Links, the guys are going to be at the Co-op on next Friday before the San Jose State game. As I said on Coffee and Football this morning, bring your gently used beef jerky package or Chick-fil-A wrapper. Jerry will sign it for you. He promised me that this morning. So he's waiting for you. He's waiting for you.
I only sign babies.
That's why you're the prodigy, CJ. You go above and beyond for the fans.
I don't think I'll sign any children anytime soon. So I don't think somebody asked if I was going to be the new prodigy. I don't think if I have to sign babies to be the prodigy, I don't know if I want that job.
Them's the rules, Amanda. I don't make them. I
do know how to drive a stick shift though. So
hey, I do. I just don't know.
You called it that thing with the numbers on it.
Yeah, I almost call it the Prindle. You know that joke, right?
You know what a clutch is?
Yeah, it's a thing on the feet.
Okay.
I know how to drive. I valeted for a long time. People trust me.
You didn't know how to drive a stick shift to valet?
I know how to drive a stick shift.
Okay. Somebody said you didn't, so okay.
I just didn't know what it was called.
Okay, we'll let that one slide.
Take my word.
Okay. The stick thing with the numbers on it. That's your new stick shift. All right. Any chance we see some Nick Townsend in this game?
Take it, Jeff.
On special teams, probably. I'm going to get very few snaps because it'll be injuries, Shannon, and Washington, and getting the primary snaps.
Yeah. Any true freshman that you see in this game take positional snaps, Jeff, I'm stealing that line from you. They have an incredibly bright future. We put up today that Texas does expect to start one. But how many more do you see, I would say, early on in this game against Ohio State? Unless things get ugly late, one way or the other, probably not too often. I would lean, if you see Nick Townsend at all, he's 3 and done. He's gone after 3 years.
Yeah.
We got Sailor Joe asking, Baxter and Wisner carry for 45+ for combined 250 yards. What you thinking?
I'll take the under on the yards. And look, I don't think Texas needs to run for 200 yards to win this game either. I'm telling you, man, I've felt this way all off season, and I still feel this way now as we get closer to the game. I think this is like the first half of this game is going to be bowling shoe ugly. I think it's going to be a lot of just both teams trying to feel each other out, see what's going on. Like I'm taking under 10 combined score at halftime. I think it's like 6-3, maybe 7-0, something like that. Ooh. Like it's going to be ugly.
I hope not. I don't want to watch that.
It'll get cooking in the second half, but I think that first half is going to be pretty ugly. Or if you love good defense and low-scoring football, it'll be a thing of beauty. So,
but with Texas's history of how they have performed in third quarters as of last season, I think I'd prefer a few more points in the first half of the game, personally.
And they have, Amanda, to that point, like the middle 8, like late first half possessions, they've been really good under Sark for pretty much, I mean, with the exception of a few games here and there, they've been pretty good about getting like that last score before the half, trying to get the 2-for-1. So
yeah. All right. CJ was just about to ask, short yardage or goal line, who do you give the ball to?
It's CJ Baxter for me. We're hearing CJ scoring all day in Columbus on Saturday. It's look, 6'2", 230 pounds. That's not a frame that any other Texas running back possesses or really comes close to. And again, I do think Trey has some wiggle to him, especially between the tackles, but it's something that you have to rely on the bigger body. It's why we're hearing about Connor Stroh get reps at left guard, 6'7", 345 pounds. That's a big body that moves people significantly more than others. You give 3rd and 1s, 4th and 1s, goal line touches to the biggest body you got, and that's CJ Baxter without question. The next guy up, depending on how much the Texas staff has, kind of relented that trust back to Jarrett Gibson, would be him in my opinion.
All right, along those rushing yards lines, what's more likely to happen? Texas rushes for over 100 yards or Malik Muhammad shuts down Jeremiah Smith?
100 yards. And that's nothing against Manny Muhammad.
Yeah.
I want him as anybody in that secondary. I want them one-on-one with Jeremiah Smith as little as possible. Discretion is the better part of valor. Don't overthink this thing. Bracket him. Make it.
Yeah.
If Carnell Tate beats you, you can live with that. Or Brandon Ennis or any of those other guys beat you, you can live with that. I can't live with Jeremiah Smith making a play one-on-one that wins Ohio State this game.
Yep. Anybody else can beat you. It's funny, this discourse between Ohio State fans leading up to this game, you'd have thought, double coverage or brackets was the most asinine game plan of all time. It's like, no, you want the best player in all of college football running one-on-one. Of course, you're going to rearrange some coverage in the back end. It's been an interesting dialogue, to say the least. But yeah, give me 100 yards over anybody in this Texas secondary, locking him down one-on-one.
Yeah, I completely agree there. Now we're going to move on to some of our more important questions, I feel. Is Bevo making the trip to the shoe?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think I know he was not allowed to go to Atlanta. Yeah. I have not heard anything of him going to Ohio State.
I've not heard anything either. I'm going to assume if Ohio State's banning people, they're
banning Dave Portnoy. They're definitely banning Bevo.
Yeah.
All right, last one for you, CJ. Do you like Malort? Be honest. Who wears the helmet mic on defense? Does that improve communication for a team looking to gel like last year's defense?
I'll go backwards. Anthony Hill will wear the helmet on the mic in the helmet. It will be about the same. Michael Taft, Anthony Hill, they were both the guys that Texas had with the helmet communication a year ago. On top of that, look, Texas utilizes its signs from the sideline significantly more than what you would think that helmet communication will do. And I think a large part of that is, look, you have 3 main pieces of your defense. You got the D-line, you got the linebackers, you got your secondary. Having just one voice to get word across sideline to sideline is very challenging for just one piece. So having those signs come in is still going to be very important for all 11 on the field. Now to the more important question here. No, I don't think anybody in the world likes Malort. A quick story, the first time that I had it was about a summer day around this time of the year at Lucky Duck, a great bar down here in Austin. It's about 110 degrees, and if you've ever had Malort, you start sweating immediately. I had the mouth drools for about 30 or 45 minutes. It was one of the more miserable days of my entire life. And
you're really selling this Malort
really
stuff.
Cocky at the bar. Yeah, I was acting really cocky, saying, "Give me the worst thing you got." And
I had a friend get a bottle as an engagement present.
I would stop being friends with that person.
CJ, that is a brave, noble roll of the dice. But I've never been in a scenario where you're at a bar with some buddies or wherever with whoever, and the question, "Give me the worst thing you got." That's never ended positively for anybody.
No, didn't end well for me.
Yeah.
I mean, Rumble Mitts is better than that.
Yeah, Rumble's not bad.
Yeah, it's like taking some mouthwash.
It was free, Casey, and that was why I did drink it.
You don't have to drink everything you're handed.
Man, I there was a local drinkery in Austin where I was one time, and I got a beer just because the tap had a pirate guy who had an eye patch with a parrot on his shoulder. I'm like, I want that. it was like drinking motor oil filtered through a dirty sock. Like it was about as bad as anything I've ever had in my life. So yeah, saying give me the worst thing you got's never, ever, ever in the history of anything has worked out for anybody, CJ.
Yeah, well, motor oil through a dirty sock, I think, is where we're going to wrap things up.
It's probably a good call.
We'll get into some more disgusting alcohol references otherwise, which I don't think we need. But anyways, great show. Appreciated you guys bearing with me for these first 2 episodes. Been a lot of fun. Excited to do it next week when we actually have some real football to talk about, which will be very nice. But anyways, we're going to wrap this one up. Y'all make sure you tune into Coffee and Football tomorrow morning. For CJ Vogel and Jeff Howe, I am Amanda Atwell. Thank you so much for watching this Longhorn live stream, and hook 'em horns, guys.
Welcome.
Welcome.